Hey guys, welcome back to another part two of our Let's Talk About VDIs in October's Cybersecurity Month, right? Remember, I talked about this, and I still think it's really important. It's everyone's responsibility, right? It's not just IT's, and you guys have to understand that that is important when we talk about you know we talk about this in a standpoint where you know uh, it's serious when we talk about cybersecurity and knowing how to get cyber safe and be safe and not get stuck and involved in the specific scams and schemes that are out there and those different attackers and actors and threats that are involved, right? So knowing how to minimize the digital carbon your digital footprints and how to keep yourself safe and enabling different features that are offered in your environments and at home and your BYODs, you bring your own devices, right? Don't be your own device, bring your own device, right? So, understanding how that works. And, before I get into talking about that, I want to talk about the different features and there's attack simulation training, right? And, Microsoft uses that. So there is licensing, right? There is the endpoint. If I'm not mistaken here, uh, when we look at the different licensings within our admin center, let's get to the admin center here. Um, this account is no longer okay, so I have to create another account. Okay, so this is the different attack simulation trainings that are offered with the correct licensing, right? So knowing the different licensing, right, is important, right? And again, we this is offered with the E5 Microsoft and the Defender for Office Plan 2, Office 365, right? So this simulation automates allows you to run cyber attack simulations, right? And being able to kind of log into that after you were licensed, and be able to sort these automations by campaign or inactive, and get your users to watch and be a part of that, right? As per training, right? You train, you get into the training, right, and you can actually get involved or get your group involved, right? Or your teams involved or your contractors involved, right? Make sure you get them when you least expect it, right? Uh, you know, Test them out. There's a lot of good uh, stuff out there, right? That you can kind of, work your way through and work your way in, right? So here's some phishing reduction tools. Again, all the stuff here, I'm going to give this to you. You can watch the video on the training itself.
Attack
If
simulation.
we look at the training here, it'll kind of show you. I'm not going to go through the whole video, but I'll go through different schemes and parts of it. So, understand a little bit of that. Here, let me play some
You
for
need
you.
a bit more training to avoid these attacks. Next to that is a short list of simulations that we recommend you run and why. To get started, you can launch an individual simulation by selecting Launch a Simulation. Then, choose the social engineering technique you want to use. In this case, I'll go with the default, the credential harvest technique. Give the simulation.
So if we go back, these are the different techniques that are there that are social engineering techniques that you guys would want to use. And again, these are curated from different MITRE attack frameworks, right? You guys know what MITRE is? Uh, MITRE, right? So MITRE is, you know, solving the problems again from attacks, right? So there's a site, it's called MITRE.org, right? And you can kind of read up on that and what they do and who they are and how they're actually involved in our world and our different societies, right? So you can kind of read up on what they do. Yeah, right? They solve problems. So understand what that means. Um, And again, these are all part of the CyberArk software. Again, cybersecurity from Mitre Corporation. Here you go. Here's some information on that. I'll post that for you guys. But again, you understand what that is, what that does. It is important for that framework. It all depends on what you select. Again, for in our first selection, it looks like they're looking at the different types. So there's 5 here, right? Drive by URL, link to malware, malware attachment, link and mat attachment, and credential harvesting, right? So credential harvesting, for example, it's just a technique that creates a message with the URL in the message, right? So when the target clicks on the URL within the message, they are taken to websites, right? So again, you can take a look at that with the right
In this case,
licensing.
I'll go with the default, the credential harvest technique.
So he's going to go with the default in this instance.
Give the simulation a descriptive name, select Next, and then select the payload you want.
So as you can see, he named it, and when we talk about payload, we talk about you can create or collect your own payloads, right? There's different default ones that have already been created, and they have different predicted click rates on that and different simulations launched within your organization. So I think in this example, he's going to choose 2 field messages, right? And that's the payload that he wants to use, right? So I'm going to go ahead, and there's many, 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 many out there, right? You can also create your own if you'd like. There's also American Express password resets, Acrobat document sharing, accounts payable, claim a fax document, Black Friday offers. These are great offers that you guys can use in your training. And remember, train, right? So train your environment, train your employees.
To use. In this case, I'll use the built-in 2 failed messages payload. Later, I'll show you how to create your own payloads. On the Target Users page, you can choose specific users and groups you want to target with this simulation, or you can simply target everyone with it. That's what I'll do here. Then, on the
So when we look at target users, again, I want to talk about the target users again. We can add existing users and groups, right, or import them in a list in a CSV. But in this case, we're going to include all users in my organization, which are a total of 197 users or groups total. Off the top of my head, I don't know if they're all users or they're just a mixture of users or groups in this video. So as you can see, Microsoft 365 Defender simulation with the licensing, you can create that. And you can see by type. And if you look at the type column, if you're looking at the type column, let's see here.
assigned training
So if you're looking at the different columns here, you got your emails, your company emails, right? So the different users on the left, names, right? And guest users are obviously excluded from simulation. So make sure you have those groups and divided equally and correctly when you're doing that, right? So if you have a guest users that you want to train that are coming into your organization, and you want to be able to train them on that, right? So in this instance, I think he's going to use the include all users in the organization, right? And if you look at the type column, you see users, right? So this is a mixture of users and groups. You can also include only specific users and groups, right? And show the excluded targets or import from a CSV file. So I'm going to go ahead and continue the video. I'm not going to show you the whole video, but just to kind of give you guys an actual creation of the simulation live so you guys can see that firsthand.
page, configure how you want to handle.
So this is the assigned trading step, right? So we're selecting preferences assignments, right? We're going to select the content preference, right? And assign the training recommended, or you can select training courses and modules yourself, right? And due dates, right? So give your organization or due date so that they're able to complete that within a time frame, within the time frame of 9 to 5. Obviously, you don't want users doing it after work hours or before work hours, right? You want to give your team the pep talk and say, hey, between this time, give that an hour or 45 minutes to kind of do the training. Near the end of the day or the end of the night, just make sure you talk to your managers about that and let them know that you're taking the training, right? Um, So scheduling your team is also a good idea. Like give them schedules. Say, hey, you know, we could take you off the phones. Let's say service test, we take you off the phones individually throughout this time and have them, you know, set up a schedule or calendar with that and time frames for each user. Give them, let's say the test is about half an hour. Give them half an hour each, right? You know, and again, manage it correctly. You know, ensure that these guys are training and they're not letting it go. You know, be a leader. Make sure they're training, right? It is important.
training for users who demonstrate the need. Our huge library of fish training content enables personalized and highly specific targeting based on susceptibility score or simulation performance. In this case, I'll just use the recommended defaults, which is to use Microsoft content and assignments, but you can also use a custom landing.
So here's the training assignment, right? What we talked about, and we can select courses and select set assignment criteria for our target users that we've chose already in previous steps in our previous step. And if you look at the recommended, they recommend these, let's say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 training names, right? Like these are already recommended for you to use, right? And there's our global resources, right? And there's different time frames. You can preview these to see if these are doable for what you want to train your employees on. So you can take a look at these and use that. Okay. I'm going to continue.
Landing page and assign specific trainings. All the trainings are brief, with most clocking in at under 7 minutes, but they can be an effective way to change users' behaviors. If you're using the Microsoft training experience, you can customize.
So here's the landing page, guys. I'll get back to the video. I just want you guys to kind of take a look at it. You can set your training preferences and contents on your own training land, and you'll see an example of one, right? And change your headers and bodies to whatever you want, and then preview it once you're done. So I'm going to go ahead and get him to create one for us.
Customize its header and body text. Don't forget to preview the page by selecting Preview Page. Not only does this page link users to assigned.
There you go. There's an example of an actual email that's sent out to our organization or to those users that we want to send it out to. So, you know, people will click on it. They're very gullible. So again, it's everybody's responsibility to ask questions and you know and review these, right? So, you know, within your Outlook, there's also different options where you can report within Outlook. So I think if we go to, if I'm not mistaken, I go to, I'm not sure if I set this up already, but if I were to go to, I don't have the app. Okay, so if I were to go here and open up, do I have the app? Let's see. The license is expired. Okay, so that's okay. So if I were to open, for example, I would open Outlook, right? And I'm opening up Outlook. And I'm logging in with my users, right? There's a button on within Outlook where you can actually report those, right? So making sure that you report those. I think it's called, it's an add-on that's a report. It looks like a red shield, right? So it's a shield sort of similar to this icon here at the top. It's red shield where you can report it if you'd like, okay? So, you know, going back, you know, to our video, this is what an actual landing page would look like for your environment, right? You
Training,
you can modify that, okay? So I'm gonna go back to the video.
Also gives them a tour of the email to explain the telltale signs they missed. Great stuff. Next, on the Launch Details page, specify when to start and how long to run the simulation, and then review the details and submit the simulation to Microsoft 365 Defender. Once done, you see the simulation on the Simulations tab, along with all the others you've run or are running. At the top of this tab, you see the status of all these simulations, and you can select your new simulation to see its details. There's a lot of information here, like the impact of the simulation.
So as you can see, this will give us a lot of information. He's right, and you can take a look at, and then use this as a report, right?
Or how many users it actually compromised.
Yeah, see, look at that. Even knows the compromised, how many users they compromised. So, you know, which is good. You've got entered credentials, did not enter credentials, basically on the two failed messages. So, you know, and who was trained and who wasn't out of the 1,052 users, right? So there's our payload, two field messages, improvement actions, recommendations, right? So this is actually will help increase your secure score, right? Uh, I haven't really talked about secure score impact, but that's important to know.
We provide an extensive list of payloads based on real-world attacks right out of the box, like the two failed messages payload I used earlier. There are more than enough to get started, but you can also create custom payloads. While you can certainly start from nothing, I prefer to use an existing payload as a starting point.
Yeah.
By
So he's used the existing, and you can create your own, obviously, right?
selecting Copy Payload. Then, click through the wizard to customize each page. On the Configure Payload page is where you customize every detail of the payload.
There you go.
That
So that you can actually configure the headers and settings and tags here, which is kind of cool. URLs that you want to configure those, right?
includes sender information, the phishing link, tags and general information, language, and of course, the email body itself.
Yeah, you can also do that email body, which is kind of cool. And you can change that and make it more realistic, right?
You can edit this email any way you like. Moving on, remember earlier I mentioned that the landing page can show users signs that they might have missed? Those are indicators, and you can add them here on the Add Indicators page. Select Edit Indicator to edit an existing one, and click in the Indicator Preview area to see what it will look like to users. Once you're done, submit your payload to create it. There's just a few more things I want to show you in attack simulation training.
But yeah, so that's it for now. I want to get to the point here. This is important. Educate your users, right? Make sure you guys are educating, right? Educate your users. Very, very important. I stress that a lot. Um, second, guys. So, you know, ask someone to, one of your specialists, to perform those tests, run tests, go through those CIS benchmarks, you know, go through this training. Um, I think I mentioned there are some um, links here, third-party links like no BE4 it's called, and then there's some Microsoft links in Sierra, which has some awareness training. So know that, and I'll send you guys all this link, right? All right. So and if you go to admin center, if I were to go to admin center, you know, you can take a look at the different licensing for that. There's single separate licensing for that that you want to purchase within your marketplace. If you go to all products, right? Let's take up my products. Take a look at my products for now. Right. So I have my E5, which is already included within that. Right. But there's also, if we go back one here, I'm able to now endpoint, right? Search the marketplace for licensing. Remember, it's licensing, all licensing is done through Admin Center now. So there's the different trials that we can use for that, trials, right? So if we wanted to use the trial for that, we just click on the details and then introduce the trials for that. I'm not going to do that now. I'll do that a little bit later on. Uh, so that's that. Again, I thought I'd throw that out to you guys because I think it is important. And again, let's talk about what we're here for. And again, this is part two of our three series for VDIs, right? And I want to talk about single session versus multi-session VDIs. and what they are, right? What is this, Sal? What's a single session? What's a multi-session, right? Um, VDI, VDI. They're both VDIs, obviously. We talked about VDIs in our first part. We talked about virtual desktop infrastructure and what that is. Make sure to watch that video. Right? So what is it? Um, right. And again, I'm Sal, your systems architect, professional trainer, right? Future MCT, right? Microsoft certified trainer. Well, in the current works of that, and I was actually just completed the academy in the learn aspect of it. I'm not sure if I showed you guys, but there is a academy that I took for that. Uh, so if you guys are interested in becoming a trader yourselves, uh, let me know and I'll give you some info on that. Again, I'm Sal. So remember, it's everybody's responsibility, not just IT's. Okay, we're all in this together. So let's talk about single session machines and definitions and usage and examples and what this is, right? So a single session machine, and guys, make sure you guys get this, uh, right? Machines can be VDIs. They're part of VDIs, right? They're that part of that infrastructure that we talked about in last session with persistent and non-persistent. I think we talked about that right here, right? So I'm going to take this picture here again and post it in this notes today's. Oh, right. So when we look at, desktop infrastructure, um, right. So, right, we talk about that. We talk about, you know, infrastructure, VDI, right? And what that is and what session virtualization is, but we're more concerned about this action here, right? And how we can log into the cloud or internet, and then you know with an operating system and an application and user settings and data within those VMs, right? And obviously access those VMs within the cloud, right? So we talk about the different laptops, VM1, and then your desktop, VM2 or workstation, and then you also have your devices, right? Like your tablets, your phones, your iPhones, your iOS devices, your Androids, right? Your pilots, your PDUs. So again, that's what the VDI is, right? So, and then we can actually go through a session in terms of VDIs. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Um, so if we look at this, there's session virtualization, right? So per session, right? So keystrokes sent from the client, screen sent from the server, right? So session within here, session one would be our laptop, right? From the cloud, right? From our computer to the cloud. Our session two would be in the cloud to a workstation. Our session three would be to a device for BDU, all right? So understand that and how that works. Yeah, that's the difference between our VDIs and our session virtualization, right? So they're either virtual desktop infrastructure, right, which are VMs, our operating systems or apps within our virtual machines, and then there's our session virtualization, right? So it's per session, right? So you can send keystrokes from the client to the session, and screens are sent from the server, so within the cloud environment, right, or internet. Okay, it's a virtual desktop or a physical machine. That's what a single session machine is, right? It's a virtual desktop or physical machine, right? Um, where where only one user can log in, right? If we go with wordplay and use the machine at a time, right? So one user can log in and use the machine one at a time. Um, it's used in scenarios where a dedicated environment is needed for each user, so sort of like a standard desktop or a personal VM. Um, it can also be used in environments where personalized users experience and dedicated resources are important, sort of like a knowledge worker, a contractor, or a developer, right? So these are people that I see a lot using these single session VDI machines, right? An example, right? We stick to our Teams example. If I want to deploy Microsoft Teams to a single session machine, you'll only need to worry about that one user's experience, right? So understand that it's only a one user experience that you need to worry about when deploying Teams to a single session. Okay, so that's important to note. Um, versus multi-session now. Now we talk about multi-sessioning, right? And what multi-sessioning is, right? So a multi-session machine, like a remote desktop server, RDP or RDS server, and you know when we talk about RDS servers, we talk about our server environments. So if I'm logged into my server, and within my server, we have our different roles and features that we are able to um, a little bit bigger here, right? So we're able to now add those features, right? If they exist in the server pool and create deployments and run the rules, add rules and feature wizard and select this option. I'm not sure if I selected it already, but I can check. Um, did I select it? Yeah, I've already installed it. But I can, you know, add those specific RDS servers within this within this environment, right? And make sure that we add those services there. So does not exist in the server pool. To create a run, we need to run and add the run features. So we can do that and select the remote desktop service. I think I can show you that from here, from our dashboard. We can add roles and features here. And if we scroll next, we have the RDS installation required for role services, right? So we can do that, or we can manage the role based if they have it here, and we can see once we select it, we can see whether or not our RDS services are installed here. So you have 2 of 6 that you can install. So the broker is installed. We have our session hosts, right? If we want to add that specific feature, click next, and finished, right? So that's one way you can do it, right? And then obviously install that if you'd like. In this instance, I'm going to install it. Right? And I'm going to close that. And we also have the second method of installation, right? So it requires the role services for the VDI to create the virtual machine based session or session based desktop deployment. So we would select this option, right? And make sure we select our destination server, right? And understand our RD connection brokers if we have one, and we can do a quick startup or a standard deployment, right? So in this instance, it's not going to be a standard deployment across multiple servers. This is just going to be deployed on one server, and it'll create a collection of and publish remote apps. So I'm going to select the quick start and click next, right? And this is going to be a session-based um, versus a machine-based desktop deployment. So virtual machine-based desktop deployment allows the user to connect to virtual desktop collections, right? That are included in the remote app program and that. So we would choose that. Or we can use a session-based desktop deployment, which allows users to connect to session collections that include published remote app programs and session-based desktop. So I'm going to select this and click next, and it found our pool, right, which is good, and the credentials, that's good. We're going to click next, and this will go through its necessary checks and compatibility checks. You won't be able to proceed with because the existing RD broker does not meet one of the following. So I have to take a look at this. Has to run 2202. So again, this is good compatibility checks for that, right? If you guys are troubleshooting. So I'm going to take this as a area. I want you guys to try this on your own, right? And follow the actual criterias, right? And make sure that we have the right criterias for that. Um, right? So it has to be joined to the domain. Currently logged in user must be a local administrator. Server must not have a pending restart. So it may be because I have a pending restart. So that might be one of the reasons why. So because we're doing this together, I'm going to reboot it. Why not? I'll just reboot it. Right. There you go. So again, the criterias are important to meet. So make sure you are meeting those criterias if you want to try along with what I'm doing here. Um, so because of that, I may have to cancel out and redo this again. So as you can see, you'll see that it probably because I've installed a role and feature for that role. So that's why it's asking me to reboot the machine. So I'll have to reboot the machine and come back to this a little bit later. So we'll be doing quick start and session based. Okay. Okay, we'll come back to that and restart this machine. And so it looks like it needs a restart. I want to close out of that and restart the machine. Right, and you're gonna choose because we're doing application installation. This is just a rolling feature. Um, let's say reconfiguration planned. Right, and get used to doing that, guys. Choose a reason. Click continue. But you kind of get the gist of things and how that's done. So if we were to go back to our multi sessions here, um, you know, remote desktop server, right? We talk about remote desktop server and how to install it, which is kind of cool option. And install. Let's look at the different features, right? Roles and install it together. So we'll do that. We do that together. All right. Um, so again, that's what that means. And again, these multi-session machines allow multiple users. We're not going to do the multiple users. We're going to do the single user one, which is the quick start, because we don't have multiple users to log in and use the machine simultaneously and share its resources, right? So that's what a multi-session is. Um, we're not going to use the multi mode of it. We're going to use the single mode. And I'll show you guys again when we go ahead and install it. Our usage for a multi-session VDI machine it's useful for scenarios like call centers. Very important, um, right? So if you have a call center, it's a good time to use that. Shared workspace or training environment where multiple users can use the same system at the same time. So if you have a kiosk machine or a shared device where multiple users are installed on it and you want to install Teams on it, you're more than welcome to use that. Um, you know, just remember our VDI sessions, like, and how we kind of how I described how there's session virtualization and VDI infrastructure, right? So understand the two differences, right, and how it kind of intertwines with each other. So you know when our best use case for a multi-session machine is suitable for environments where users do not require a fully personalized so where environments where users do not require fully personalized, so do not require, right? And I want to highlight that for you guys. You know, and again, in this case, we talk about call centers, right, and training environments, right, where users run the same set of applications, right? Our help desk, our help desk, service desk, as an example, right? Um, So if we're deploying our sponsored application, Microsoft Teams, right? Right. And we're on the V2 version, the V2. Um, and we're deploying that on a multi-session machine. It has to be managed carefully because multiple users will be using the application on the same machine at the same time. Okay. So just remember that. Obviously, they're logging in with their user accounts, right? The application can be installed on all devices, right? On the one device, but it's the accounts that are logging into it. So, the licensing for that and how you're assigning those license to those users, right? So those machines again will have, if it's one login, like a kiosk login or just a group login or a study log, whatever it is, that case is it's the same application on the same device for any user that logs in and any profile that's created on top of it, right? It's the user needs the license for that. Just remember that. We talked about remote desktop server. Again, so in short, single session, only one user at a time can use the machine, right? And in a multi-session, many users can use the same machine at the same time. Okay, so remember that is important. Let's see if we reset it. Okay, so we logged in. Let's see if I can log in now. I'm logging into my machine here. Okay, and we'll go back to our roles and features again here. Just collecting the inventory data. All the binaries get loaded, so it takes a little bit of time. So we'll have to wait for that. So, you know, we look at again, we're not multi-session here. It's just a one machine server. So licensing mode is not configured. So there is a licensing for that, and we'll stop working 119 days. So on the RDP, use the RDP. Let me read that. See if I can read that information if it lets me read it. I couldn't pop up. Okay, there we go. So, you know, um, I'll miss that. I'll have to review that in the video. You guys can see that after. But so if we were to go back and go back to the configure rules here, rules and features wizard, um, we have our different role based and feature based, right? And I showed you guys how to do that um, for a role based or feature based. So if we were to click next, which, and I think we've already installed one of the roles and features for the RDS service, for the service or the, right? So, we've installed all the services that we need for that in order to, right? And the different services that we need for that, especially like for Hyper-V, right? So requires remote desktop virtualization host, right? So we would install that if we had our Hyper-V hypervisor, right? And this will go ahead and install those RSAT features. I'm not going to install that now, but understand what that does. Then we have our licensing, again, our remote desktop licensing tools, different, right, than what we're used to seeing. And again, these are all RSAT tools and manages the licensing, the remote desktop licensing to connect to remote desktop sessions, right? So in our test environment, we can use the RT licensing to install, issue, and track any availability and licensing, right? So we would select that. We also have our gateway, our RD gateway, RDG, which enables authorized users to connect to virtual desktops, right? So like a remote app program or a single session based desktop on a corporate network over the internet, right? So understand what that means. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cancel out. I'm just going to go back and use this option here. RDS was what we talked about. We talked about this in our slides. So this is a multi-session machine, right? It's an RDS. So know what that is and how that works. So we click next. We in our RDS, it can be configured across one server or multiple servers. So in our test environment, obviously in production, you guys are going to use standard deployments, right, across multiple. But in this environment, we only want to deploy this RDS service on one server and create collection and publish remote app programs. So that's what we're going to be doing. And we're going to select that and we're going to click next. So our deployment scenario, um, so basically our RDS can configure to allow users to connect to those virtual desktops and remote app programs and session-based, uh, well, again, single or multi-session based desktops, right? So we have these two options. We have our virtual machine-based desktop deployment and that, or a session-based desktop deployment, right? So when we decide what we choose here, our virtual machine-based desktop deployment, right, allows users to connect to virtual desktop collections, right? So we would select that. Or if we have a session-based desktop deployment where it'll allow users to connect to sessions collections that include published remote apps. So it's totally up to you. So it's not really a per session. This was going to be a virtual machine based, right? So I'm going to select next. And I think I design this. I brought out this picture. This picture is very important to understand the differences between these two different types of virtualizations and how they work, right? I want you guys to, familiar yourself with arise with session virtualization versus VDI, and understand the differences, right? Because when we're selecting our destination server, we are using the quick start method, right? And we're going to be doing this through virtual machine based desktop deployment, right? So we're going to click next, and our computer is found in our pool, right? And it knows the credentials. So I am not going to add this again. I'm just going to click next. See what happens. So our virtual desktop template was in this wizard. Again, it found our destination server. So the virtual hard disk that will be used as a virtual desktop template must exist on the computer, right? Um, so we need to have the permissions to access the virtual disk. So where's our virtual disk location? So we need to physically locate the virtualization disk. Um, so in this case, we need to know where the VD. I don't have my hypervisor on this machine, so I might have to just, you know, select one. I don't think I have one here, so I can't move on now. I'll have to find the machine, the hypervisor machine that I created that's on another server here. Give me 1 second. Oh boy. So I do have one here. It's Hyper-V, Hyper-V, Hyper-V. All right, so Hyper-V. So this is my Hyper-V session. But anyway, you guys kind of get the gist of it. I can't move on because this server I'm on is not a hypervisors a VD a VHD machine. It's it's a VMX machine. It's a this actual instance, if you guys are using it, you should be able to create a Hyper-V hypervisor machine with the Hyper-V manager and use one of the fictitious VDH files, so you can create a VM with no operating system and use that to move along. I want you guys to try it on your end, and again, let me know what happens, right? So once that's done, it'll confirm everything after the confirmation, right? Um, Do I have one? Hmm. See, I don't even have the yeah. Again, it's you need to find the file that you're going to use for that, right? And again, the template is used to create the new virtual desktops in a collection. So the template must exist on the computer on which you are configuring the quick start. So it has to be configured on a um, it has to basically exist within our environment, our Hyper-V environment, right? So if I were to draw this out, you know, oh, if I were to draw this system out, let's say, for example, I have three bare metal machines, and this one is a hypervisor, right? And this one is a hypervisor. This one is a hypervisor, and this one is just a DC. Let's say, for example, I physically, and it's got a physical disk within there, and these all have physical disks, right? Right. And then then you would have you know your layers here, right? So we have our two layers here on our within our hypervisors. Um, our network cards, just quickly designing something just to kind of give you guys an example. I'm sure you guys seen this if you watched other videos of mine. Um, right? And then you have your external um, external switches. I'll use our diamond because we like our diamond. I'll use diamond. Right? These are our switches or external virtual switches, right, that are connected to the outside world and fed to our VMs, right? So we have our VMs within here, so our VMs. So this is our virtual machine test that I'm talking about. So, so for example, we'd have our operating system with Windows 2022, and I want you guys to do this yourselves, right? And follow along and message me on WhatsApp if you have any issues with it, just so you guys have a better understanding. Again, this is all going to have the same operating system on there. Right? So these are all going to have the same OS. Just copy that now. Copy. And then again, this too, obviously it's got the OS. So in our hypervisor, and this is our hypervisor, our Hyper-V manager, right? That's gonna basically, again, from our machine, right? And then this also has a disk. Um, so that'll probably be, you know, um, right? And that'll be on a shared disk or shared LUN. It all depends on your infrastructure and how you want to deal with it. Uh, right? Oh, let me make that blue here. Make that blue. Okay. So that's our shared disk. Just a quick drawing for you guys so you guys know what's going on. Okay, so you guys understand the gist of things. Again, what this is asking you, right? If we take a look at our picture now, so we have a template here, a virtual desktop template that's used to create a new virtual desktop in a collection. So the virtual hard disk, so our virtual hard disk, right? That will be used as a virtual desktop must exist on the computer that you're configuring the quick start. So we would configure it within our hypervisor machine, okay, and not our DC. So again, that was the whole goal here. I just had a quick machine that I clicked on it. So when we're doing this, again, just ensure that when we're doing this, we are using our hypervisors. Okay, make sense? Very easy when you understand how to understand how that works, right? So again, um, this is our external, this is our external virtual switch, right? And if you guys watch my other videos, you guys will know what an external V switch is, right? And how that works, right? Um, so kind of understand that. Um, Again, if you have any questions, please add me to WhatsApp, right? So this is how you would try it. And again, Server Manager is in our operating system. It's installed in our operating system, right? There's no applications that are installed in this. It's just our hypervisor that's hosting our Hyper-V Manager, right? And these disks are going to be installed on our V disk, right? On our hyper disk. So again, it's saying that it's going to be installed on this machine here, right? It's going to be installed on the machine, right? So that's where you guys, this is where, the disks are going to be stored, right? So the disk is going to be stored on the NTFS file system partition on that physical disk. So this is physical disk, PD, PhD, right? And this is PHN, PHN, right? So again, we talked about the nomenclatures already, but this is a good uh, understanding and how I architected it and how I designed it and how I've done all this stuff. Uh, you know, um, so you understand what that part is. So I want you guys to try this on your own and message me on WhatsApp. Let me know your challenges that you faced and show me some pictures and show me your results. I appreciate results, right? So, if you guys are interested, try it on your own. I've given you the design aspect of it and how to come across this scenario, right? So, um, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to put that in my notes, our multi-session notes for this instance, right? And kind of understand what that how that works and what scenarios we're using that for, right? So we go back to our machine here. I'm gonna take this for you guys. So this is gonna be done on our Hyper-V machine, right, and not our DC. So I want you guys to try it out. Okay. So are we? I guess we're all on the same page. Let's move on. So that's what a single session and a multi-session is. Again, if we're deploying an app like Teams, it has to be managed carefully because the multiple users will use that application on the same machine at the same time. So if that machine is being used multiple times by multiple users, right, at the same time, um, that's what's going to happen, right? So, it's suitable for an environment, like I said, where the users don't require fully personalized desktop experience. So, like the call centers are going to access those machines. That's a good idea to use that, right? Um, what else? Single session, multi-session, again, single session. We're gonna actually show you how to create one. I did some steps here. I'm not gonna create this one, but there are some steps here. Message me on WhatsApp if you're still interested on creating one. This is all done through Workstation Pro, right? So we can download the VMware Workstation Pro 17, um, right? And again, I'll send you guys links on that, how to download. That's done through the support Broadcom website page, right? And there's videos on how to do that. When we create this new virtual machine, you know, we're not really creating a VDM. So I think I did create one yesterday. Did I create one yesterday? I did, didn't I? Let's see what I created yesterday. I think I did. Cancel. So if I'm looking at the persistent machines that I created. So imagine this machine. This is a machine that's created. These are the steps, same similar steps. If you guys are interested, let me know. I'll send those to you. So you guys can try those out for the single session. Um, Again, when you're creating a multi-session, same thing. There's different rules and features. So sort of what we did here. We've completed it. We can configure the RDS licensing here, right? Sort of what we did. And then we can create and configure user accounts on that hypervisor, right? So I want you guys to use this. I want you guys to do this with Hyper-V. Right? I want you guys to use Hyper-V with this one. Um, Install the application, install any applications that, so for example, we're going to use Microsoft Teams, right? V2, and this is our MSIX IX file. I'll send you a link on that. Um, grab that link for you so that I have it download Microsoft Teams. Right? So we can download the Teams here. Right? Just click on download Teams and click on that. Oh, there we go. So it downloads the file for you, and it looks like it downloaded the file. Um, Teams Worker School, that's the one that I want. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Go to the download page. So let's click on that. They changed it. I think they changed it. That's okay. Looks like they changed it. So what I'm going to do is download Teams MSIX. MSIX, no problem. This is the one multiply. So this is the site that I'm going to give you guys here. Download this one here, the MSIX here, this one. Right, you can download the exe installer, right? Uh, so that'll download the bootstrapper, and then you can download the 64-bit architecture for that's the three that you want to download um, for any scenario. But for worker school, I recommend the MSIX. Okay, so I'm gonna send you guys this link. Okay. All right, so okay, so that's done. We talked about that already. Again, these are the different. I think we talked about downloading the different roles and features. So these are the roles and features I want you guys to create and configure the user accounts. So we can create user accounts in Active Directory, right? So ensure that these accounts have permissions to log in remotely. So we can create those accounts in AD, right? So this is where we have our AD server, right? If our domain controller with our RSAT, uh, our RSAT machine with ADUC. Right? We can create those users within our data centers, our two data centers here, right? And in whatever domain or area that you want to do that, right? Okay, so you guys can do that. Show me that you guys are able to do that. It's very, very, very easy. If you guys are looking for the steps, just send me a message on Teams. I mean, on WhatsApp, and the information is on the link below. Let's go a little further down here. So test our multi-test session functionality. So we will use remote desktop connections to verify that multiple users can log in and work simultaneously, right? So that's something you guys can try. Again, this is an RDSH, right? So what is that? It stands for the service host. So the is a role in our RDS. So if we go back to our roles and features, um, right, go back here next, and we go back to our RDS, right? So this is our session host. So that should be installed, and that enables our server host remote app programs. So make sure that that's installed, right? You guys can do that. Um, what else? So let's go back to our slides. Again, users get these desktop apps through one of the remote desktop clients that run Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android. Okay. So users get to these desktops and apps, right? It's very important through one of the remote desktop clients. So we can log in as a user, right? So that user can log in or whatever service account you want to add for that for your multi-session, right? That runs the Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android. And then users can also connect through a support browser or kiosk, right? You can use the kiosk for that, kiosk mode. All right, I explained to you guys on what that is and what that isn't. Here's a link. I'll send that to you guys too. Uh, you guys can, this will kind of explain to you what all the roles are, right? And explain all the roles and how to set up those roles, right? So if you want to set up your broker, you can add the RD broker server to a deployment, configure high availability, so that also uses high availability, and we can do that in steps. Okay, cool. This can be done in Azure portal. Um, what else? There's steps on doing that as well too. And then we can create load balancers for high availability. Also important in Azure. Sure, you guys can use the sessions that you guys have to create those load balancers. So that's also important. Um, Configure round robin, DNS round robin, and how to do that. Um, Second, so again, um, when we talk about round robin, it's just it's a load balancing technique where we can distribute traffic um, by rotating IPs, right? Um, so the name server manages the DNS request. So when a request is made in the DNS, it, it here, let me share this with you guys. Explain this to you a little bit more. Um, what round robin is. Um, since we talked about it. Oh, okay. Let's take a look at this. So, give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to show you something here. So When we talk about round robin and what round robin is, it's important to note when we talk about that because um, you need to know what round robining is, right, and what that means because it's something that's new that's introduced, right? So when you configure that, there's ways of configuring it here into our internal load balancer, right? We can set that up, right? We can set up those deployments that way, which is kind of cool and follow these instructions here on how to create the brokers, right? And set up those brokers for that. That's very, very important. Um, so if we go back here, again, the DNS round robin, um, when they talk about that, or round robin in general, it's just load balancing, a technique that distributes traffic across multiple servers, right? So it rotates the IP addresses and return to each request. So there are benefits, there are limitations. There's round robin. It's you know the round robin effect. It doesn't provide true redundancy. It's just if one of those endpoints goes down, some traffic will still hit that endpoint and users won't be served content, right? Those are some limitations, right? But our benefits of it, again, it's just when a website, it's more for websites or services where the content hosted on those multiple web servers or multiple redundant web servers, um, especially if the servers are geographically separated from data residency from states in Canada, right? It can also provide fault tolerance for that, right? So if your request for an IP, like your first request gets an IP address uh, of server one, the second might get an IP address of server two, and so forth. So that's how that kind of round robin works. So it chooses whatever it wants. So take a look at that. Know the roles, see the roles. I'll send you guys a link on the roles, right? And set up your multi-session, set up your single sessions, right? I'll send you guys if you guys want it. I'll send you guys instructions on how to do that. Let me know, okay? All right. Very easy. I've already created a session for you. Um, you know, if we need to, for example, if we're configuring virtual desktops, we can customize the configuration settings, etc., and installation of applications. If we need to install and configure any VDI software, like for example, Horizon Agent, if we plan to use the Horizon to manage our VDI sessions, right? Again, it's up to you how you want to manage the VDIs, um, those VDI sessions, right? So that's another topic, Horizon Agent. That's something I want to talk to you guys about. That it's um, designed by Omnisa. I'll show you guys how to create that in your own environments, right? For multiple pools of machines. That's another topic. So again, um, setting up a single session and a multi-session involves creating the virtual machines, installing the appropriate operating systems, and configuring them for single or multiple users, right? So, Workstation Pro is an awesome tool that can help you simulate and test VDS setups in a controlled environment before you deploy them into production, right? So, um, if you guys are interested, let me know. We will show you how to create one. Okay. I do have the steps on that. Just message me on WhatsApp. Uh, Send me a message. I have a group that I just started recently, not that many users. I want you guys to join it. They'll feel comfortable joining that, right? And ask questions. If you don't, just send me a message separately and tell me who you are, what you watched, what point you watched, and you're looking for the instructions on it, and I'll send you those instructions. Okay. All right. I want to thank you guys again for your time and following me through this three-part series of creating VDIs and training and teaching you and educating you guys on cybersecurity. Right? It's reached its end. I want you guys to learn it. You have time to learn it. You know, just because we're in November tomorrow doesn't mean that you still don't have to try it and follow the rules, right? Get cyber safe, right? We've been telling you guys day in and day out, and showing you guys the methods and educating yourself. Make sure you educate your employees. Okay. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate everything. All the appreciate if you guys like and subscribe the video. Subscribe to my channel. I have multiple channels on here. Um, Multiple videos on here. So if I were to let's see, just let me show you guys where to go. Right. So all you need to do is type in YouTube and production Inc. 2, right? And again, uh, there's my page. Right, just hit the subscribe button. Right, right, and make sure you sign in if you didn't. Um, Sign in if you don't have an account. And these are all the videos that I have. Right, different playlists and whatnot. Right. So here's my playlists. I have all my videos here. Right, on the side. You're more than welcome to take a look at all these videos. Um, I have other videos that are hidden. Again, if you guys are interested in some of these, send me a message and let me know what videos you're interested in, and you know, this will help me, you know, with the training, right? So if you guys need those videos, let me know. And again, these are the videos for cybersecurity. Some of the videos. If you guys are liking those, again, try those out. Let me know. I also have other videos. Again, if you're interested in other videos or courses, message me, call me directly, or add me to the WhatsApp group, right? And again, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. You know, the further I just started this WhatsApp group here, so I'll show you guys again. If you click on the WhatsApp group, this will take you to WhatsApp. You just got to join the chat, right? And download and set up your, download the app or join into the app, right? You guys know how to do that. Uh, you can join the chat, right? Or you can actually go to web.whatsapp.com, right? And log in, right? You can log in this way through your computer, right? And then you can, you know, set up your phone. Just grab your phone and point it with your camera and set yourself up, and then add me to the group. Once you've added me to the group, you're able to now join. It's a new group, right? I'm trying to expand my community. I've trained over thousands of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, right? So, um, you know, there are a lot of specialized tech people in here that are smart. Please feel free to ask them whatever you need. If you have questions regarding notes and stuff like that, for those steps in this session, ask me, right? You can add me to WhatsApp separately and say, hey, Sal, can you give me the steps to create a single session VDI, and the steps to create a multi-session VDI, and I'll send those over to you in WhatsApp. Okay. Um, Thanks again, guys. Without you, I don't create these movies often. So, please subscribe and like these. If there's anything in particular you want, please feel free to ask. Send me an email. Let me know what you guys think, or send me a WhatsApp message, right? Stay tuned for part 3. I will do a part 3 in my next session. I'll talk about privileged access workstation, right? And what that is, right? So stay tuned for that, and we'll do that together. All right, guys, thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you then. Bye now.